We are going to talk about different types of rules in Salesforce. The very first one is assignment rule. Now imagine that there is a customer, okay, he has raised some case. You have got that case in the Salesforce. Now that particular case would be assigned to somebody or a queue, right? So that assignment happens, right? So this particular rule, by the help of which this assignment to the user or to the queue happens based on some criteria, this is what we call as assignment rules. The second one is auto response rule. Okay, now the customer came in, he raised a case, you have assigned that particular case to your team member or anybody, okay? Then the very first email that would be sent to the user back, to the customer back, that hi, we have received your case and this is working on this particular case, or anything, any acknowledgement that we sent to the customer, okay, this is what we do with the help of auto response rules. The next is escalation rules. Escalation rules, now think it of the way, customer came in, raised a case, he waited for some time, okay, there was some business hours he waited for, but this was not resolved. So you could have your escalation rules configured such that if it was not resolved, or if it was something, you could make that criteria that if the business hours this have been reached and we have not resolved it or whatever, we can escalate that particular case to another team. Okay, then in this scenario we are going to use escalation rules. Then comes the validation rules. To have high quality of data, okay, to have high quality of data, you have created a record, and in that record you are entering some data, and that particular fields are dependent on some other fields. So you have some scenario for the quality data. To make sure that you are putting in relevant data, right, we create validation rules which run on either creation or updation, not on deletion. Okay, so then if you are not entering the the fields based on whatever the validation rule is present, then an error would be coming in. Next, let's go to the workflow rules. Workflow rules we used to do initially, right? Now we have flows, but the rules where we can update, we can send the email alerts, we were updating a field, so any such of that scenario we were using in the workflow rules. These are not needed as of now. Then comes the sharing rules. Sharing rules would be helpful. We have OWD, we have public, private, whatever, private, public read only, public read write, based on which the level of access would be defined for that particular records, right? So now if those records we have to open down the access of those records, we are done with the OWD, done with the record level, or this role based hierarchies. Then comes the sharing rules. Sharing rules are of two types: owner based sharing, criteria based sharing. This helps us to share the records to other public groups or other users based on some certain criteria, or owner based sharing. Okay, then comes the matching rules. Matching rules came into the picture. Imagine you have entered some data, okay, Salesforce or your company wants to make sure that whatever data that you are entering, it is not inconsistent, it is not duplicating. So anytime you want to create a data which is not similar to the another data which is present in your object record, we create matching rules. In the matching rules we write the duplicate logic. Like, what would be the logic? If the email is matching, if the name plus email is matching, so what should happen, right? What would be the rule? So this we write in the matching rules. Then comes the duplicate rules. In the duplicate rules you will define, you will select that particular matching rule, and you will define what to do if matching happens. Do we need to allow the user, do we need not to allow to user to create further? What type of error message should we give to the user when they are trying to create a similar record which is already present based on that based on that matching rule? So this is what we enter in the duplicate rules, right? Then comes the restriction rules. Restriction rules you will see in the object manager for a particular object. Restriction rules, in the sharing rules what we were doing, we were opening down we were showing the users that based on some criteria we were sharing the records. In restriction rules it is the opposite. Sharing rules helps us to showcase more records. Restriction rules helps us to narrow down the records and to not allow the users to see some particular records based on some criteria, even if our sharing rules are allowing them to see, still the user will not be able to see them. Okay, this is what we configure in the restriction rules. Now comes the scoping rules. Scoping rules would be helpful. It is similar to restriction rule, but in the scoping rules what we are doing, we are simply doing a temporary, we are creating a rule, we are simply temporarily hiding that particular data such that this data is already visible to the user. It is present in the system, the user has access to it, they can see that particular data, but we are right now just scoping it for temporarily purposes. We are applying some filters so that the user see it as a default to the same. But in the restriction rules the user will not be able to see the other records, even if they, when they are fetching it based out of the SOQL queries or some list views or whatever. In the restriction rules you will not be able to see the records. In the scoping rules you have, although hidden the records, still the user has access to the records. This is it for today's video. Thank you so much, and let me know if you find any mistakes in this video. Have a great day. Bye.